Oh, share my screen. Screen one. Present. Welcome, everybody. I'll be your host today. My name is Jared, and if you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat or the Q&A, and I'll be able to get those, answer it to the best of my ability, and maybe able to demonstrate how to do that request. So feel free to type that in into the chat. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. I'll put you on, give the mic to you, and you can go ahead and speak. If not, I'm going to go ahead and James, I want to allow you to talk because I was reading over. I see we also got one in the Q&A too. Actually, before I go to you, James, let me answer this question first. Alexander said, can you insert data from your flow into your email step along with constant text to personalize the email for the user to do calculations in the body based on flow data? I mean, I'll let you talk, Alexander. Short answer is yeah, you can absolutely do that. It may be on depending on what you're looking for, but yeah, you can fetch data. And this, I don't want to use that flow because that's too big. Let's just create another one. Like this is testing out mappings. That's what we'll call this. No worries. What you can do is if you have data that you want, and I don't know why, every time my server is just slow. Let me remove, shouldn't be. I don't have a lot of things running. Yes, break that. Just give me the steps. My goodness. I feel like it's my computer. I'm not sure why. There you go. So I got fetch entities. So let's say I want to fetch something, right? And then I want to fetch the accounts. So I can get data in. And then what I can do is with my send email step, I'm going to drag that over with the result. Is I can say this is from admin. Actually, we'll do this is from training. Really? It's not what I did. This is send email. I don't know how that tab thing works. The tab thing in the Flow Designer is just weird. So if I do training at decisions.com, and then we go to Jared at decisions.com. What I can do is with the bodies, you can use merge or HTML text. And what this allows you to do is you can combine data that you get from the fetch entity step. And I could say this is email, colon, space, and then I can find the email property in my data. So in this case, since I'm using accounts, counts has a lot. I'm just grabbing the first property just to demonstrate this. And then I could say email address, boom. So now if I send this email, I'll say this is the first email. And so now if I send this, what happens is because I utilize the merge plain text, it's combining static text and also variables to pass that out. And any flow data that you have, like if I add more flow data inside of here, so let's say I go to create data, right? And I say this is, I'm just gonna use this. The funny thing is I don't like cheese, but I just use cheese all the time because it's humorous and it's easy to find. And I'm sure, right, I'll probably be persecuted later because who doesn't like cheese? We'll say this is Monterey. I don't think I spelled that right, but anyway. So I can go to show editor and there's my cheese variable and I can add cheese, right, to my email, even though I can't eat that email. So, but that's how that works. So yeah, any data that you have that you've created in your flow designer, you can definitely add into your send email step via utilizing the merge plain text editor. I believe there's a document on this that to also just round out the discussion. Merge plain text. Am I correct on that, Jasmine? Do we have a document? I don't know. I thought we did. Maybe I'm making things up. So I thought it was like mapping. There was one that we had that specifically mapping. That's form inputs. Using the mapping editor. Input mappings. Yeah. Oh, that's just this. There's none for it? Okay. That should totally be in there. I don't know why we don't have that. If we can, Jasmine, could you also submit doc tickets for like merge plain text, or maybe, or I think is we probably have it. I just haven't. I can't find it. If you can help me find it, that'd be great. But yeah, that's how it works, Alexander. Alrighty, we got Peter. I'm currently trying to figure out how to create a form to view/adjust time series data, period value pairs, time period value pairs. Okay, I know next to nothing about forms, so basic tips will be helpful, but I can go into more detail if it helps. Um, yeah, I mean, I think I understand what your question is. So let me go ahead and build a form and kind of show you, and we can see if that helps. I did allow you to speak if you want to, if what I'm demonstrating is not anywhere near to what you need. But let me try to go for it. I think your question is pretty succinct. So yes, Alexander, you can filter the data, and you can just say it's by doing a fetch criteria on the fetch entities, or you can run a report and a filter. There's actually a great YouTube video. Don't worry, Peter, I haven't forgotten about you. There's a great YouTube video I think that I did that was talking about filtering data and decisions, data filtering and decisions. It's a little old. It's on version 7, but the same processes still apply to filtering out data. So if you want to use those or follow this video, it will show you how to filter out data in utilizing a report or fetch entities criteria. So just wanted to throw that out there. Anyway, back to Peter Nix and forms. So forms, yes. So if you want to do date time, there's several different date time things inside of decision. So if I go to create my first form and we go ahead and create it, there's a couple of different design controls that you will have that allow you to track date and time. So what we can do is I'm going to add a button because you always need a button. And right off the bat, we have a date time picker, right? And we'll say this is date time. And what this allows you to do, I can preview this so we can see, is I can left click this and it allows me to pick a specific date, and then I can specify the time I'm therein. Users also can type in the time that they want. So if I want 4, 5, 6, and I do 2024, a date in the past, and I say, what is it? Space, not 09, is it 09 something here? I guess you can't type that part, but I can set it to this, and then I have that, and then you can set the time to something else. Like, all right, we'll do 4:40. This is military time, so I'll do, you could do whatever on how you want it to look. So that's kind of how this control works. Now we also do have the date picker control, which this one is different. This one just gives you just the date. And you can say, hey, so we'll say this is date, is instead of grabbing the time, I just want that date. So it's the exact same control except without the time aspect here. And you can just pick a date and then it will display that date. So depending on what you want to utilize it for would give you the insight on how to, which control to use. So now let's kind of transition this and talk about how does it apply within a flow. So when I go in a flow, what does the data kind of look like inside of a flow? So if I go ahead, let's go back into that flow that I was messing around with. And man, this thing is so slow. I don't know if it's my database or from my hard drive space. I gotta call IT. I need the IT team to help me out. I don't know what it is. I just need more RAM. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I just need more RAM. I probably have a memory leak of some sort because it's always at 90%, and then I don't have too much stuff running, so I'm gonna call IT. Anyway, back to the thing at hand. Not this one. Was it testing out mappings? So what does that form look like, Peter? I'll show you. We're gonna do a show form, and what that looks like. is once it loads. Come on, any day now. It's not like I have to, help people out. Any day, be nice. If not, I got another server we can try, but it's not version 9. I need a version 9 one. My goodness, come on, Flow. Come on. It's like this browser's crashed for some reason. Give me a second. Open up this. That's open there. I don't have a lot open. I don't understand. All right, let's try this again one more time. Local. See, that's zippy. Flow, test on mapping. Yes, break the lock because it's slow. All right, cool. So now, let's say I want to delete all this because I don't need this. That was the last demonstration. There we go. My gosh. Okay, cool. Pick a create. I'm going to pick existing. I'm going to pick the first form that I have. And so what does this look like when I pick the data? So let's say I add some constant data here, right? So what I can do is I can pick, sweet, current date time, and let's say I want to pick October. So if when I go ahead and execute that, what you'll see here on the input outputs is it will have both the date and then the time, right? And it decisions adds a T there, so you can see this is the time, 12/14/08, and then on just the date, it still has the time. It's just everything's 000. So what you could do is, let's say you want to report that actually displays kind of like the time, and you want to do separate things for like that, like storing like the minutes or something in the process. What you can do is you can pass in the date time. Is you can filter out through, grab the time. I think it's like called date. There's a time, and you can grab the minute. And it gives you the minute. Grab the month. You can give you the month, and you can actually get there. So you actually don't need to split that string if you need to. You can just grab it in the properties of the input of the date time, and I think it's formatting. Or I guess you can grab hour, month, and minute, and you grab the hour and the minute, and you can concatenate that in a certain way. But this will give you the that kind of the time of day that you're looking for, or any time metrics you want to gather from. But that's kind of, those are the main two steps on how to do it. We do have some customers who might say that, hey, I don't like um, the kind of the base control to select because it's a little clunky. So we do have some customers that actually design their own JavaScript control for a custom kind of date picker thing, like custom, what is it? Let's see, date picker JS controls. I just want to see an example. Image. Let's go images. Right, where some people might say, hey, I want this one. I'm trying to find one that's like uh, easier to use. Like this one, like someone's like, hey, I want this as the date picker control. Well, you can create, if you have someone on your team that's really good with JavaScript, you can create a JavaScript control and integrate that with decisions, and then have that displayed, and decisions will use that control instead of the default one. But out of the box, that one's gonna be a little harder. I don't have too much expertise to build JS controls. I know a little bit, but not enough to build one on the fly. You'd have to do something like that if you don't like these base controls. But that's essentially how you can get it from there. In regard to the value pairs, because I don't think I touched on that part of your question, everything in decisions is like kind of like a JSON value pair when you output. So if I go to my outputs here, right, this is essentially a JSON data pair, right? I have the date time as the name, and then the value is this. So if you want to get specific properties away from that, there is, we actually just launched these videos on our channel, where there are, if I go to this one, and I'll put these in, is we have 2 videos. The title is weird. We're fixing that. It was a weird kind of upload thing, but I'm gonna, nope. Oh no, darn it. Let me go back to your thing. I meant to type the answer, haha. So here's one video, and then the other video that we have goes over getting the property names on the object, meaning getting the data pairs of that date time. So these are really good resources. I just kind of sent you that in the typed answer section. I only see, oh, I see two. So that, I believe that could help in getting that part, but it's just utilizing two steps called, um, where is it? Data pair. No, that's creating data pairs. I think it's like advanced. Haha. Yep. So you can get property names on object, which is the one that's talked about it, and then you can get, I think it's like get by name, get by name. Of course, it's going to do another long search. Something weird in my database, I guess. And then you can grab those. I think it's, what is it? Get property names. No. What's the last one? Get data pair by name. That's what it was. So it's going to be like get data pair by name. And I think that one will be the one that gets found. So I'll add also that into the answer there. But yeah, feel free to come off mute if that didn't answer your question or there's a clarification. I do not mind clarifying.
Yeah, thanks. That was interesting. I guess the thing I really want to see is a form that would have kind of a table on it with, multiple dates and values in the table. If I
Multiple
already have the like I already
dates.
have a list of date and value pairs as data, and then I want that to appear in the form.
You want that to appear to form. So what you could do here are you storing that like in a report or something?
It's stored in a data structure, so we're not connecting decisions directly to our database. We're using it as an API service, so the data would be passed in um, as through an API, and then we'd have it in
Sure.
a data structure.
Okay, that's easy. So then what you can do is you can use the advanced data grid. It's a form control that allows you to run, it basically runs the report view experience on a form. But the cool thing about it is you can send in a list of, I'm assuming this like integration type that has different date times on it. And then what you can do is you can leverage that. Oh, I'm looking up report. I need advanced data grid. Advanced data grid. And then what that will allow you to do is you can then display different date times, different formats if you want a short date, long date, because it leverages the report designer um, for its own processes. If it actually loads. Gosh, what is wrong? Don't save. And then test output mappings. Come on. Any day now. I can show you it on another place. Well, my server decides to like, I think it thinks it's Friday and not Monday, and so it's like, I'm not coming. But it's like very typical technology. It's always when you need it to work, that's when it's like, I'm not gonna work. Here, boom, boom, boom. Cool, let's see if this works. This will be in version 8, but it's gonna be the same thing in version 9. There will be no difference. So if I go just create a flow real quick, we'll say this is test flow. Boom, and then I go to create show form. And I'll just have to create that form real quick for you so you can kind of see what it looks like. Create new form, and this is going to be the advanced data grid. Oh, I shouldn't have named it that because that's going to be really confusing. Can I change the name, please? Please. Okay, we'll just run with it. It's fine. So advanced data grid is also available in version 9. I'm sorry, it's called data grid. It's very particular. It's data grid parentheses advanced. So you got to be aware of that. What you can do here is, let's say I want to specify your type, and let's say it's a list of, I'll grab a list of employment data for example, or probably a list of your external type of your integration. But what this allows me to do is I can edit this source right here. And what this allows us to do is we can then leverage the report designer without having to necessarily store that data. We can just deal with the integration itself. And so if I want email, I want employee name, let's say I want some, date filter or date fields on this data, depending on what the properties it has. I can then click on the data field itself and then change the formatting of it. I want short date time, I want year and month, I want, month and day, I want just the month or the year. You have all those options available to you within this data grid form control. And so let's say I pick in this, right? And then I save. And then whenever I use this control into the process, right? Then if I pass in data, I'll just create some like really quick data for it. Build array, it's just gonna be a constant piece of data. And then let's say I have some email. What is that? These are the two pieces of data that I have. And then I think where's modified date? Modified date, we'll just say is today. So if I debug this, right, you can see that, boom, it displays that data there. And then I can change based on the formatting in that control, and you can see everything in kind of like a list view perspective. All right. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna go to Wade's question right now. So we have Wade. For simple database structures, the documentation says configuration filters need to be enabled to use entity events. I cannot find how you do that. Specifically, I want to use the after delete. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, very simple. Hey, look at that. Guess what? My server decided to work now. Cool. Anyway, so whenever you create a data structure, never mind, I guess it decided not to work. Yeah, it's gotta be just my what is taking it? I don't Microsoft Edge Web View. What is this? I don't know what this is. It's just taking off so much memory. Okay, this should killed some stuff that were just absorbing memory for no apparent reason. Okay, cool. So now if I go into here, wow, that's so much better. If I go into here and let's say I create a database structure. So what this means is there's certain data structures that will allow you to utilize a configuration folder. By default, a database structure does not have one. But if you want to use the after save, I'll say this is my DB. And I'll call this prop 1, prop 2. Then what you can see here is sorry, 1 second. Is when you go to your data structure, if you go to advanced, scroll all the way down to the bottom, there will be this where is it? Is it? Oh, I'm in the data member. So you have to click on this weird white space right here. This is the thing. So this is the data member property section, and you can like change the property length and a lot of things related to the a property, right? But what you need to do is you have to click on the database structure, this little white space there to get to the UI of the database configuration. And you see on the bottom here, you'll see that there is an enable actions, right? You have to click on this. This allows you to have a configuration folder that's tied to that database structure. So when we create this, you'll see that I'll have let me just create it right now, is you'll see that I'll have a configuration folder where I can create all those flows that we've had before. So boom, right here, I have a configuration folder. Since I enabled that, I can go into here and I have the different edit events after save, after delete flow, before save, before delete flow that I can use. So in your case, what you'll have to do is go to the database structure that you desire, right click it. If you're in version 9, it's edit structure. If you're in version 8, it's called edit define data structure. It does the same thing, it's just named different. When you edit the structure, you can then go ahead and just check that box and click save. And then you will have this configuration folder to create those after save and delete entity save actions. Let me know if that answered your question, Wade. I've also given you permission to talk if you do want to expound upon it, but if you
Oh,
got the picture.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I put in the chat. I did all that.
Of course, it's you need to enable and use entity events. You need to be able. I didn't. Where's that message? I don't see it. All I see in the open is just that I. Oh
Well,
wait, are
no,
you in the other thing?
well, I put the question, what that was my question. I was trying while you were talking because I wasn't unmuted. I was trying to tell you, well, what you already did. I did all of that already,
Have you
and it still doesn't work.
That's going to be something wrong with the environment. I would put in support ticket for that because that means that the code did not compile
Oh, okay.
for that to come on.
I didn't. For some reason, they think I'm a training ticket. They think it's like a training, and then they need to be sent to training. That it's a training org or something. I'm like, I don't know.
Oh,
I was getting the runaround, so I was like, maybe you guys know, but
yeah, no, that sounds like it's the actual code thing that you would have to, if it's in your dev server, we'd have, because a quick way you can do it is, one thing I can show you is if you want to force a compile, add another property to your database structure, save
okay.
it, and then you can remove that said property. That will force the compile at least twice, and then you can see if it comes up because that's what needs to happen for this folder to come up.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, that I did the thing. It created the configuration folder. I added my after delete flow, and it just seemed to do nothing at all. Like, okay, so it's
So you're saying you added the flow here.
yeah, I hit specifically hit after delete. I added a flow. Um, what I did in mine is I have an entity, and then I have like entities related to that. So I have like, okay, if these sub entities have my parent entity ID related to them, just delete those because it's like a child record. I have no reason for these child records if the parent record's gone. So when the parent record's deleted, I want it to delete all the child records too, and it just doesn't seem to work.
So it's that flow that's not working.
Yeah. I mean, I only did one. I haven't tested the other type of entity events, but
Okay. Because yeah, I think because if I create, so I might be able to create that scenario real quick. Because
yeah, I
essentially,
did.
what you're saying is after delete, sure, we'll call it that. Is let's say I fetch entities.
Yeah, I did on mine I did a delete entities and I had it search for the entities to delete.
Yeah, because I think we have the ID, if I'm not mistaken. If I go to the data explorer, yeah, I do have my DB entity, so I can say I want to fetch
Yeah, that's what I
this,
was using.
and then let's say I have a child type, I fetch there, and then you say delete those,
Yeah.
right? Everything related to that, and then I'm assuming it's delete entities. Yeah, and it doesn't delete or it's not triggering.
I guess from my end I can't tell which is which.
Okay, so here's what I would recommend. I'm just gonna do a fetch entities when I delete a record for this thing. It's gonna be not very useful, but at least it will teach you how to determine if you know it's running. Is the
Okay.
data still there?
Yeah, it's still there. Yeah, because I'm
Okay,
deleting it. I'm deleting in the query editor. I don't know if that matters or not, but I'm deleting
that
the
does matter.
oh, I'm deleting I'm deleting the parent entity in the query editor.
That won't run that flow then. The
Why
reason why,
why
yeah, the reason why is because we have it's. I think I can draw it on a Visio. Let me see if I can draw this on Visio. The reason why apps. Da, da, da. Visio, 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 because it's just easier to kind of visualize it. Plus, it's fun to draw. So we have this thing that where is this side cylinder? I can rotate this thing. So basically, what it is, we have this thing that sits right. So this is what we'll call the ORM layer. Hopefully, it's not. Hopefully, it's readable. Really, it did that way. How could you? All right. So this is what we call. Here's what I'm going to do. Right, decisions has two things, right? We have a database, so this is going to be the database, right? And then we have at the top is we'll make this little rectangle here. This is the web application, right? The web app. This is where you log in, right? You see the studio and all the environments and things like that, right? And then it sits in between the database and the web app and the database sits this thing that I referenced earlier called the ORM layer, right? So we'll call this the ORM layer. That's what sits in between. What is this ORM layer? What this does is it says, okay, any data that gets fetched. So if I run a fetch entities in the web app, like in a flow, what that's going to do is it's going to say, okay, let's go ahead and I need my arrows. Let's go ahead and let's, we got to first go. Can I rotate this? This is gonna be fun. All right, so it's gonna first say, okay, well, we're gonna go get ahead and get the data. The ORM layer is gonna process that, say, okay, hey, we need to get this data from the database. And then the database then, so we'll say that we'll make this color coded so it's just easier. This is going to the database, the blue, and then once the database gets that data, then what's gonna happen is we utilize this again, is the database will then send it back. It will be processed in the ORM layer so that it can be presented in a way that the front end web app, and we'll change this to be a green, that the front end web app can read it, right? So if I run a flow that says delete this record, it will then say, okay, trigger any of the triggers that are tied to that record. And then it'll run your after delete save flow. What happens if you just go to the database directly and delete things is what you do is, can I do my, is essentially what happens here is so this is querying. What you do is you essentially circumvent the ORM layer and you just go straight to the database, right? I'll put this in red. Circumvent it. You circumvent the ORM layer, and so they just go straight to the database, but it doesn't trigger anything that's tied to the ORM layer, essentially the after save flow and the delete save flow. And so that's why it won't run that way.
Kind of stinks. I have to put, to even test, I have to put a delete statement somewhere in a flow for it to.
You don't. So you don't necessarily have to put a delete statement. What you can do is if I go to, I keep going to this flow. I don't want that flow. So if I want to test that delete trigger, right? Test that delete string. I spelled it wrong. What you can do is you can utilize the user defined types, and then the database MyDB, and it has a delete step for you. And you just pass in that ID, and then it will delete that specific record. So let's kind of play with it a little bit. I'm going to create a record real quick because I don't have a record. Say build data, and we'll say constant data, sure. So I create this, boom, I have my own ID. Let me save this so I can delete it. So now if I delete this record, put this off screen, close this, we're going to delete this now. Just to illustrate it, I'm going to turn on my global debugger so we can kind of see what happens. Because what we should see here is that flow that I just created here, the after save delete one. When I turn this on and delete that record, we should see one of those debugger outputs here that says after save flow delete one. That will show you that it ran. So let's go ahead and let's delete it to see if that's the case. Boom. And if not, then I probably misconfigured something. Or maybe I don't understand the feature. That's also quite possible. I think I've only used this one time, I think. Let me make sure I know what it does. This thing, oh, that's right, it just fetches stuff. Okay, that's weird. Got it. So I'm going to go ahead, run this. We're going to debug it. Or actually, let me just run it. I clear it. Because yeah, let's not, I don't want to debug it. I'm just going to run this flow. I think it's what, test that delete string. All right, cool. So I'm going to debugger on. I'm going to run this. And then if I go here, boom, see how it ran the after delete save flow right here? So it said, boom, I deleted this database record. And then over here, I see that my after save flow ran. If I go in the query editor and just delete it, that after save flow won't run.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I've just been testing stuff and I didn't necessarily, I wasn't like making a flow for it. I was just like, you know, going around, updating records, deleting records, and I was like, oh,
Sure.
and I was like, well, it'd be nice to add this feature in so I could delete all these child records. But yeah, I guess didn't know the query editor was omitted from those events.
Yeah, exactly,
Got it.
because it circumvents the ORM layer. And I think it's a lot of things that people, it's easy to kind of think, oh, I'll just go into the database, right? You may be familiar with queries, it's just easier. And so that's why we always recommend people, you almost never just directly run delete queries on the database. It's okay to run select from and like get intel that way. It's just whenever you have to delete something, you very rarely, almost never run delete queries directly on the database because it will, you can run into a situation where you'll orphan more pieces of data that are related to each other because you just deleted it straight out the
Yeah.
gate.
Okay.
And a great example of this is the assignments table. It's made up of like 5 tables, but the one that everyone knows is just the entity underscore assignments. And so if you just delete an assignment on that one table, it doesn't delete it in the other 4 related tables that actually make it the thing function. But if you delete it from decision side, like I run a delete entities, delete assignment by ID, then decisions will find those other related tables and delete their corresponding entries with it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Good question.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Of course, my pleasure. All right. Let's see. I think that's everyone. So now we're going to go to James's questions. Let me delete some of this stuff so my thing doesn't slow down. James, I did have a question for you. What was the error that you're getting? Because I see your flow. Let me kind of hover it so show it
I'm
so the
not
class
getting an
can.
error on the flow. I'm just um, brain fogging how to actually get that text file written out to where I can grab it later. It wouldn't be in this flow. It'd be in a different flow that grabs all the data that I create out of this flow and sends it to an FTP server.
But what you said in read text file?
Yeah, that was just to make sure that my text file was coming out correctly. And that's what I sent you a screenshot of to show that the data is coming out correctly the way I want it to. So my flow is working. It's doing what I want it to do. It's just and I know I should know this, but I'm having trouble just saving the data file to the server where I can grab it again and have another process grab it and send it off to an FTP server so that it can be processed by our ERP system.
So okay, so you're deleting a file.
Oh,
So
that first delete is just to get rid of, that was just for testing. That's just to get rid of the one I created before.
yeah,
So
no,
it's not
that's what
there
I
all the time.
presumed. I'm just wondering what I guess so the read text file just outputs a string.
Yeah, well, it's outputting, it's the text that's being created from the pen line text.
That's what I was wondering. Let's see.
It's the
But
output of those that's,
this thing, that string builder, append
yeah,
text to file.
yeah. Yeah, I'm building each line of the export file that I called it, so that it's formatted in the way that they need that data file, that flat text file to be formatted. There's that specific format. That's why I sent you that. So if you wanted to look at it, it's kind of like weird. Why they want that data file structured. So that's why I had to go through all these iterations to get it exactly like they want it.
Mm-hmm. Because they want it in a text file.
Yep. It's basically
Oh,
it's
really?
basically, yeah, it's comma delimited, but basically the way I have to construct it is as is just a text file because
Oh, okay,
each
this is
line
interesting.
is different. Even though the columns are all the same, column 1 through whatever,
Mhm.
each column could hold, depending on what line of, depending on where it's getting the data, it could be a different line.
Sure. Where is it stored? Let's explore this together. Because the thing that we
Yeah,
have to figure
I
out
couldn't
what you
find it. I couldn't find where it's stored,
yeah.
I think.
I want to say it's in file storage, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I looked there. Well, I did a search on the name. I don't know if it stores it as some weird name, when it's actually stores it there, but then I wouldn't know how to retrieve it either in another process unless I knew the name.
Yeah, well, I guess, and I think that's what these steps don't. But
It's
they
stored somewhere
would
because before I put that delete in, each time I would run this flow, it would just append onto that file.
really. Okay,
So it's
so then
somewhere.
okay.
I don't know where it is, but
Then it is somewhere. Hey, I found it. Look at that. So if you do you have access to the back end of it? I think you do, guys, right?
to the server itself,
Yeah,
yeah, I do. I'd have to,
perfect.
yeah.
So there's my file right there. So it's in decisions, program files, decisions, decision server,
Oh, okay,
file txt. So right, so
okay,
that's where my file is. So I think you're right. So if I say hello, my name is Jared, I'll probably see it probably will append that now.
okay.
Um,
So I guess there are steps where I can
there we
list
go.
the actual path that I want it to go to.
Yeah, no, there is. So what I can do here, so let's say I pen more text, but let's say I want to, there's a file, what is the thing? Not add file. We're gonna find it.
There's
I've
something
done
about
this
add
once.
path in one of those. I think it's in the file,
File management
file
section. That's
management.
great direction. Pen text to file, pen line of text, file exists, find files.
Like that.
List files in directory,
Yeah,
load all
get pen,
files, load file. Yes, this is it.
load
Because then
file.
since we know it will always be stored in this directory, you can say merge plain text. Oh dang it, that's right. It doesn't come in that way. There is a way to probably set it. I'm just gonna do it this way. Dynamic, and then file.txt, and then let's see if it actually gets it. I think it will. Yep, looks like it got it. Output, boom, it got it.
Okay. Okay.
So it looks like what you can do is, since this is the main driver it's stored, and this is the
Mhm.
file name, um, you can create like a variable that you can say select from flow to the file name if you create data step or some other method that makes it dynamic, and then you can craft this via merge plain text editor, and then you can easily boom, like go ahead and load that file
Okay.
in, and then now you have file data. And then if you need to upload to an FTP server, to FTP, okay, never mind. There's create, if you want to move file by upload file, where's the one? I guess we don't have FTP anymore. I mean, I don't blame why we don't have FTP. I just thought we did. Um, you can then say, okay, we can upload, to FTP. Here's the file data and the path you want to load it in.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I haven't even
whatever.
gotten that far, but yeah, that's basically all I want to do at that point. It'll be another process. It'll grab any files that are in this directory that I create.
Mhm.
Because it could be over multiple runs. I'll probably run this once a day. That'll pick them all up and ship them over there for processing later.
Absolutely. And I think what you can do here too is, if you don't want to utilize this directory to store like documents, like you want your own like separate folder on that computer or that server,
Yes,
I
yes.
think I believe there's a create file step. Create file, list of bytes, file name. Oh, really? There is one. Create text file. Data string file name. Nope, there is one. Hold on. I've used it one time. It's like a lot of these ones. I've used it one time. Append line of text to a file. Create a file, find file. Let's see. Read text, rename directory. What's the touch file? I know that used to be. Nope. Right line. Nope. Um, but then you have to move it. I was pretty sure there was
Where you can like set the default directory or something.
Yeah, like I could say, hey, create text file. Like you can, and then you can say, here's the file location where I want to store it.
Right,
I thought
right.
there was. Maybe
Yeah,
that
that would
could
make
be.
sense. Create directory maybe?
That would create a directory. I think you'd have to move your file to that directory, and then you'd be creating
Oh,
directories
that
every
wouldn't
time you
set
run it.
that directory as a default.
Exactly. That's just like kind of
So you
like
just create it.
mkdir
Gotcha.
in like Windows or that's what that does. Boom, that's what it is. Thank you, VT. Okay, yeah, you could do the full file path name for it. So what you
Right.
can do here is I can say, let me create just something on my desktop, and I'm going to call it folder and put files here or put file here, right? And so now what I can do is I want to create this thing called uh, different location, and I'm going to say I live somewhere else. Smiley face, and then what I would do is I can do I think in my case it'd be C:\users /Jared /desktop /put file. I got to type this thing in right. Put file, put file here /. Let me make this bigger. And I think that's the correct path to my desktop. Let me just confirm. Users, Jared, desktop, put file here. And it's a capital J. And then I believe, let me go ahead and I'm going to delete this. And let me go ahead and add this file. I want to load that file data and let's see if it does it. So debug, it's going to error out on that step because I didn't configure it, but the file should be there and boom, it got it. And if I open up, cool, the file explorer of that location, boom, that's where it's at. Yep.
Gotcha. So
So that
did you actually put that folder out there beforehand or did it create it on the fly?
I did put it out there beforehand, but let's test
Okay.
out to see if it will create it. I don't think it will, but why not? So we'll say put file here, two,
Yeah, yeah.
and we'll
See if
see
it
if it
does.
actually,
That'd be
uh,
really cool if it just created
yeah,
on the fly.
I live somewhere else and create on fly. I believe we'll error out, but who knows? Yep, it will error out because it doesn't say it doesn't
Okay.
exist.
Yeah, it's got, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, because it'll
That's,
say could not find part of the
oh,
path.
that's
Yep.
where you would use that create directory thing then.
Yeah, exactly. So if you do want to create it in another
Like if I
directory,
needed to create one on the fly.
exactly, you could probably say like on
Gotcha.
exception, create directory of that, and then rerun that step.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, that sounds good.
So.
All right. Yeah, I don't know why I was having such a hard time with that file stuff. With the
Oh,
file
it is.
name.
It is a little. It is. Right, because whenever you say file, you always have to think about it from like, are we talking about like directly on the server or on decisions? And
Right,
sometimes it is
right,
very like gray when you're in one area versus the other.
right.
Because if you're relying on output, right, a lot of some of these steps they don't output anything. So it's kind of like you're like, I don't know where to go unless you know, like, oh,
Mhm.
it's actually going to a location that I can, follow it
Yeah,
to.
yeah, I could see the data output, but I didn't know where it was. And I didn't,
Exactly.
I'll look there. It's probably sitting there. I just got to log into my server on the back end. All right,
Mhm.
and I was getting a little confused because I'm still a little confused on document versus file reference. Um, the whole way that stuff works together.
Mhm.
Um, so anyway, but I'll keep looking at some of the videos on it, but maybe if
Okay.
you guys ever wanted to do a deeper dive on that, that would be great.
Sure. We can definitely add that as something we could add for our content.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm so confused on that. I'm just used to being able to, in Logic, you just write a file and it boom, you just tell it where to go and it does it. It seems to be
Mhm.
I think this does the same thing, but yeah, I'm just a little confused with some of that file reference stuff and where does it put that and how do you recall it and all that stuff.
Mhm. Sure. Sure.
So, all right. Well, thanks, there. That helps a lot.
Awesome. Good. Alrighty. Giovanni, do you got a question? Okay. Alrighty. If that's it, then what I'll go ahead is I'm gonna go ahead and end the call. I think we got some great discussions and great questions. I really appreciate everyone's questions. So we'll go ahead and end the call so that once this video gets mixed, we'll upload it to YouTube and you guys can rewatch that for your own refresher on what was discussed. So thank you so much. Tomorrow, Jeremy will be running the stand up Tuesday. So look forward to that. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.